You know, crankbaits are a critical way to catch fish, especially predator fish. No matter if you're fishing rivers, natural lakes, reservoirs, crankbaits have a place in your tackle box. But a lot of people are often confused as to when to cast crankbaits versus when to troll crankbaits. And I tell you what, you're probably seeing some of the wind behind me. I'm definitely feeling it. When I hear and feel wind, I get excited for crankbait fishing because so often that wind will drive a really good crankbait bite. And specifically, I'm thinking about casting crankbaits in the wind. And you know, when I talk about casting crankbaits, there's a lot of ways to do it. I prefer spinning rods because so many of the crankbaits that I like to throw in the wind are light balsa baits. And you really need the right kind of action on a rod, a very moderate action rod, not just to keep from pulling hooks out of fish, but to cast and fling those light balsa baits long range, even when the wind is at your back, as it should be. Now, when I think casting, I'm also thinking about smaller spots. I'm thinking about isolated structure. I'm thinking about rocks up shallow. I'm thinking about points on lakes, very defined locations where the wind is piling up in that water. It's really roiling up and creating a surf, and it's drawing all kinds of different things into the water, from macroinvertebrates and all kinds of zooplankton, phytoplankton, and then all of the bait fish that come in to feed on those. That's what's going to draw in predators. That's what's going to bring fish in from the depths to come up shallow. And when fish are shallow on wind-blown structure, they're up there for one reason, and that's to eat, right? So when I'm thinking about casting, I'm thinking about smaller spots. Now, to cross that up a little bit, if you're going to talk about trolling to me is the great way to present crankbaits in general, but it's also a great way to fish longer, wider structural elements. When I start to think about trolling, I think about shorelines. If I'm talking points, I'm talking about massive points that are a half mile to a mile long or longer. When I set up a trolling run, I'm trying to cover a long stretch. And the great part about trolling is that when going parallel to such good breaks and structure, whether it be sand breaks, whether it be a rocky shoreline with a good dip off it, whether it be a weed line, I'm thinking about covering water and keeping that bait in the zone. That's what trolling is all about. Now, no matter what outfit I'm using, whether I'm casting, whether I'm trolling, I'm big on braid as long as you have the right rod for the job. Again, a moderate action rod will allow you to be able to use braid. You'll be able to feel the bait, feel when it's fouled, be able to clear that fouling, whether it be from a pine needle or a leaf or something to that effect. But you're also going to get so much more feel on the fishing end of it, right? But no matter what I do, when I'm fishing braid, I usually have a fluorocarbon leader, and the length of that leader is always determined by the clarity of the water that I'm fishing. If I'm fishing something ultra gin clear, I'll have up to a 30-foot leader, and that's, you know, less so when casting, but especially when I'm trolling, I need a long leader to be able to cover those clarity situations and make it transparent and keep those fish eating. Now, when it comes to really murky water, sometimes I'll go just straight braid because it tends not to matter as much. But whether I'm fishing with a long leader, a short leader, or no leader, I've always got a snap on. And a big wide crankbait snap, I like to use some of the bigger ones because it really allows that bait to move freely. So many people use snaps with crankbaits because it allows them to switch back and forth very easily to a lot of kinds of crankbaits. And hey, when you're trolling, it's all about figuring out the secret sauce, right? So that's great, but having a big snap, a big wide one, allows you to get maximum wobble on that bait and really imparts a ton of fish catching action that can really make the difference in attracting more fish to your setup. So there you have it. Crankbaits, whether you're casting, whether you're trolling, are a great way to get bit. And you know, take some of these tips and be able to use them. I know it's going to help you catch more fish.